In Chattanooga, Tennessee, David Tulis.
I do thank you for giving me just a couple minutes of your time here today at Nooga Radio. We cover local economy and the free market every day at 9 o'clock. And the argument I make, sponsored by Clay Whitaker, the best attorney in town, is love your neighbor. And by local, we favor the fruits of Christianity. We favor Christianity itself, of course, by God's grace, and the fruits of it that include local economy as an idea and an ideal. I don't cover the local economy. I cover local economy as a concept because it is it might say an action plan for you, my listener, in which near is better than far, small than big, simple than complex. And even in the footnotes, the enemy will find us, the good people. They're called the good people. They find us and they insist opposite as we do. But we say no. We hold firm that personal is better than corporate and physical better than abstract. Brought to you by our chief sponsor, Nooganomics.com, the website for the man who matters. And no, it's not popular. It's not a popular website. And that's because it focuses on issues that we could say are likened to that of the deep state in the federal sector, the deep state out of Washington, Baltimore, and Chicago, and New York. Here, we cover these issues. And we have on the phone Mae Beavers. She is a state senator and has been in the Senate for since 2002. That's 15 years. Was a House of Representatives member in 94 for a term, and also on a county commission, voted in 1990. She's her husband is Jerry, and they live in Mount Juliet, Tennessee, just east of Nashville. And she holds two very strong constitutional positions and has introduced many bills and fought for the ideas of limited government chained by the limits of state and federal constitutions. Mae, you are a pro-life candidate. Say a little bit about what has happened in Tennessee regarding the right of protection by the unborn.
Well, I have a long history. The first year in the legislature, I carried the fetal homicide bill back in the days when we only had 38 Republicans and it was impossible to pass it. And then after I went to the Senate, Representative Hill came into my office one day and wanted to know if I wanted to carry his fetal homicide bill, and I said I would be delighted to carry it. You know, I tried it years ago. We now have the numbers to get it done. We got that done so that, you know, if anyone assaults a woman or kills a woman, then they can be charged with a second count if she is pregnant and it harms the baby. I carried informed consent. We all have to sign consent forms when we go to the doctor, you know, consenting to the procedure, and, you know, we're informed of all of the ramifications, all of the things that could happen to us. But a woman that went to have an abortion, she got no such education on things that could possibly happen to her or the baby. And so informed consent, they have to be educated now. They have to be told about adoption and other things that they could do besides abortion. Excuse me. And then I passed SJR 127 that became Amendment 1 when it required 2/3 vote of the legislature. That went on the ballot as Amendment 1. That will be argued before the Supreme Court here the 1st of August. So that's something everyone will be watching. We amended our Constitution. We had a group that challenged us on that, saying we didn't count the votes right because it has to be a certain number of the people that voted in the last gubernatorial race. So we've been challenged just on that issue. So we'll be praying that, you know, we win that case at the Supreme Court and that we can be able to protect life better in the state of Tennessee.
Now, another issue that my listener is worried about, since he has some interest in the public school system, is Common Core. What is the situation on Common Core in Tennessee? Is the Department of Education, which is an executive branch agency, is it bringing that pedagogical theory to the classrooms of Chattanooga and Hamilton County?
Yes, and I had a bill a couple of years ago to repeal Common Core completely. They ended up passing another bill, which was to rewrite the standards and supposed to get away from Common Core. But the experts that I've heard from that have read the new standards say it's worse than the Common Core standards. And so we're still not where we need to be on that. And then there's a lot of other concerns with our schools, with what's being printed in our textbooks. You know, the openness of our testing and what is on those tests. I passed a bill a few years ago, or tried to pass a bill that just allowed teachers and parents to be able to view the questions on the test. You know, you can do a lot. If you can gear test questions to put ideas in kids' minds of socialism and whatever, you know, you can change a whole generation. And so we have been concerned about those issues. They put an $800,000 fiscal note on my bill saying that they would have to rewrite the test every year. However, the next year, the governor comes with a similar bill with no fiscal note on it. And we had the big test debacle where the server failed last year, and some of the kids got through with the test. Some got halfway through. So I asked the commissioner, you know, well, what about, you know, these kids that only got halfway through? Are you going to have to rewrite those tests? Oh, no, we just scramble the questions, you know, it doesn't cost anything. And I thought, well, then why did my bill have an $800,000 fiscal note? So the problem we have in the legislature is fiscal notes are being used for people's agenda to kill good bills. Or, you know, they will not put a fiscal note on something that actually should have, so that they can pass their legislation. So we've had difficulty getting anything done when it comes to the education issues because of that. But that's something, as governor, I would focus on and make sure we get a good commissioner of education that understands all of these issues, that understands our concern with Common Core standards, that is interested in just educating our children.
I think, Mae Beavers, that my listener is a little tired of conservatives, and I think I understand why he's tired of conservatives. Because conservatives just want to conserve what we have. They're not really interested in changing and moving the state away from its claims in many areas of the economy and many areas of life. They're in a way they're just as bad as liberals who keep wanting to push the state into the economics of the state, into the family life, into more and more. The liberals have their problems, and the conservatives have their problems too, in wanting to keep things as they are, somehow with a kind of a gleam of morality, a gleam of pro-family, pro-small business words, but they're not really thinking about the people. How do you make the listener care about you? You are said to be a conservative. You clearly have many constitutional ideas. How are you better than a conservative? How in a way are you liberal in the sense of wanting things to change from where they are now, from the status quo of a very large, bulky, and somewhat unhappy state government?
Well, and let me say, I think I am the only one in the race, or who we have heard intend to get into the race, that will have a voting record to back up what I'm saying. Voting against tax increases, voting against more regulations on small business. You know, as I've gone around the state and I've heard from people all over the state, we have excessive regulations against our small businesses in a lot of cases that are not EPA mandates, but they're mandates of our Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation. I visited a veterinarian, and she opened a new office. They made her dig a moat around her office. There was obviously no drainage problem. Put a certain mixture of sand and soil and mulch, and then certain plants. Now it's gathering water. It's you know, a mosquito problem now. It cost her $25,000 more to open her office because of that regulation. We need to start going through all of those regulations, and we need to get somebody over TDEC that understands that some of their mandates are costing our small businesses, and remove those, especially when they're not needed. I talked to a developer that said I had to put in a $50,000 or a $500,000 pond for a 42-house subdivision. It's hard, you know, to make any money in those cases, just because the Department of Environment and Conservation in Nashville says that we have to do it, not because EPA says we have to do it. So we need to take a good hard look at some of those things that are being mandated, and that's how we can help our small businesses, by keeping regulations down, we found out in our Government Operations Committee that we're requiring more licensures in Tennessee for different occupations than any other state.
Did you support that bill?
We need to take a good hard look at it.
Mae Beavers, did you support that bill to require a state justification for each claim by the state of ownership over occupations? We're one of the worst states for state ownership of occupations, and now these rules have to be justified by the regulators.
Yes, I completely agree with that. I'm on the Government Operations Committee where we get to, talk about those licensure requirements, the rules that the department makes on those, and we get to question those. And I think we've done a little bit better job of doing that in the last few years. Interestingly enough, and this reminds me of something that came up this last year, we had a rule for the Department of Revenue come before us, and it was a rule that they made governing internet sales. Right now, we can tax the companies, within Tennessee, but we can't tax, other companies when you order off the internet from other states. And they were trying to simply do it by rule. And as we all know, that's unconstitutional. You can't do that. But we were asked to vote on something that was very unconstitutional in our committee, and I refused to vote on it. And I think we did manage in the end to delay it, but it's unimaginable that we would have a head of our state who would be asking us to do something that really we can't do, but they wanted to do it based on they wanted to join the lawsuit with other states to fight us not being able to charge an internet sales tax. And I thought, this is crazy. This is just crazy.
This is David Tulis. We're talking with Senator Mae Beavers, who is running for governor. She's one of three candidates. The other two announced thus far are Randy Boyd, formerly the Economic Development Commissioner of state government, and Bill Lee, a contractor and a builder. Senator Frank Nicely is a rural colleague in the state Senate, Mae Beavers, and he gives an interview recently to the Money Changer newsletter based in High Point, South Middle Tennessee. And the report there is highly favorable in that he says that conservative and Republican legislators for a decade now have made strong advances toward liberty in the food sector, the farm sector, where there have been restraints against farming, against, let's say, herd sharing of unpasteurized milk and the like. Can you just quickly recap what's happened in Tennessee government on that point? Because the food sector is where the freedom movement has a very strong foothold.
Yes, and he has been a leader in some of those things. He has a farm, and so he has, been very active in passing legislation to really repeal a lot of the regulations that we have on farmers. It's become ridiculous, the point to which the government has gotten involved in, trying to just run our daily lives. And I think we've made a lot of strides in that, but we've got a long ways to go, as I pointed out.
Well, country people love bearing their arms, and so do many city people. There are thousands of licensed concealed carry permit holders in Hamilton County. Mae Beavers, in a nutshell, what have you done, and what do you say about the right to bear arms? Is it something that should be regulated under reasonable rules, Mae, or is there something absolute about this right guaranteed in the Tennessee Bill of Rights?
Well, and I'm telling everybody I think it's a guaranteed right, and I'm telling everybody that if elected governor, I will not only sign a constitutional carry bill, but I will encourage the legislature to pass constitutional carry. For too many years now, we've had that killed in committee in the House. I actually passed open carry through the Senate a few years ago with 23 votes for it to be killed in a House subcommittee. There are a lot of people on the Hill that say that they're for Second Amendment rights, and they'll brag about what we've done in the last few years. But when it comes right down to, do you believe that if a person can legally obtain a gun that they ought to be able to carry it, then they won't go that far. But I believe in the Constitution, and it's our founding fathers. That's why they put the Second Amendment in. That's why it's in the Tennessee Constitution. They intend for us to be able to have access to guns.
So explain just in a nutshell what constitutional carry is. What does it mean?
Constitutional carry means that if you can legally obtain a gun, then you'll be able to carry it. You'll be able to have it on your person. You'll be able to have it concealed. You'll be able to carry it anywhere.
So right now, the Tennessee Department of Safety and Homeland Security, the executive branch agency, says, well, you can't do that if you carry a pistol under your jacket without our permission, without going through our training requirements and paying us some couple $100. You will be criminally charged under the intent to go carry statute.
It's just wrong. I've had a lot of people say, well, we're for constitutional carry, but we think everybody ought to have some training. Personal responsibility comes into this too, and I think that most people who legally obtain a gun, when you go buy a gun, you're going to make sure that you know how to operate that gun. And I just think that we can put too many laws and regulations on the books that to try to control people.
Well, something you might want to look at, Mae, as you run for governor and look for reasons for support. The arguments against constitutional carry come from people who are concerned about public safety. Well, that's what the intent to go carry statute rose in the South, in our state, after the 1831 Nat Turner Rebellion, I think in Virginia, on a plantation where 50 people were killed by very angry slaves. And Tennessee did not want to have that here. And so it made it impossible for black people to have any kind of weapon. If you had any blade or stick longer than 4 inches, you had to have a permit for it. And the system of regulation we have comes from the racist heritage of the white, you might say, the white political establishment, Democrat and Republican in Tennessee. And the intent to go carry statute is unconstitutionally vague. It has never been overturned, though the Hirsch case that we have covered here at Nooganomics and at Nooganomics at Nooga Radio challenges the vague language, but it has a racist origin. It is against blacks. It was allowed, written so that no black person could defend himself in any way at all. It's a very interesting history, Mae.
Well, and we've gone from that to we're afraid for anybody to have a gun. The anti-gun people thinks that no one should be able to own the gun. But, the people that are going to use guns for, bad purposes, they're going to get the guns anyway. They're going to steal them. They don't legally obtain firearms. But those of us who legally obtain firearms, we should have a right to carry those. We did pass the Castle Doctrine for your car a few years ago, and that allows people to carry in their cars. I mean, before you couldn't even carry a gun in your car unless you had a gun carry permit, which was absolutely ridiculous. Anybody can go get a permit, but some people may not want to. And if you want to carry your gun in your car, you should be able to.
This is David Tulis. We're talking with Mae Beavers, Senator Mae Beavers, who is running for governor on a strong constitutional platform with a long record in the state senate, a 15-year record. She's been in that office since 2002. Well, just before I let you go, Mae, say something about the bill SB 680 that targeted Obamacare. You're not a fan of Obamacare.
I'm not a fan of Obamacare. Before Obamacare ever passed, we actually passed the Health Freedom Act in Tennessee, which said that if the federal government passes Obamacare, that we as a state, our attorney general, will stand up to the federal government if they try to fine anybody in Tennessee for having health care or not having health care. Of course, no one has gone to the attorney general to ask him to defend them. That was one of the first bills that this governor signed. I said it was before he got his feet wet, I guess. But then I filed another bill called the Health Care Compact, asking the federal government to let us have the Medicaid money in Tennessee and let us decide how to spend it. Let us make the rules. And of course, that bill did not pass. But, the federal government, it seems to be the blunt of a lot of our legislation because of the things that are going on in Washington, but because they want to control our lives in every aspect.
Mae, can you tell my listener how to find out more about you online?
Certainly, you can go Mae4TN.com, or I have a Facebook page, Mae Beavers for Governor. You can Google that and come up with my Facebook page. But you can actually go to my page. You can volunteer. You can donate. We're certainly going to be out spending this campaign. We're running against a bunch of millionaires. But, you know, I've told the people, hopefully people of Tennessee cannot be bought in this campaign. A lot of times it depends on how many commercials people see on TV and everything. But everybody in this campaign is going to claim to be a conservative. That seems to be, you know, the key word right now to get votes. But if you actually look at records, you'll find that I have the most conservative record. You'll find that I have provided bold conservative leadership all these years, and that I will continue as your governor.
Again, it's Mae4TN.com. That's MAE, numeral 4, TN.com. Mae Beavers, that's Mae4, numeral 4, TN.com. Mae Beavers, thanks for joining us here at Nooga Radio.
Thank you very much.
This is David Tulis. We've been chatting with Mae Beavers running for governor. As you can hear, a lengthy record of constitutional protections seeking to liberate the farm sector, the medical insurance sector, the right to bear arms sector. David Tulis, Nooga Radio.
In-depth traffic, news, and information. Mornings on Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
3, 2, 1.
Chattanooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM's news now.
Police in Walker County say a man-sized car being stolen on West Highway 193 in Kensington and did what the police say you're never supposed to do. He gave chase and chased the car all the way from Walker County to St. Elmo. A red Kia Optima joined in and began shooting at the victim with .45 caliber bullets whizzing by. It crashed in St. Elmo. The occupants escaped on foot and the F-150 sped away. The carjacking victim was not hit by any of the bullets. After 2 bodies were dumped in a cemetery in Chattanooga, 2 arrests have been made. William Howard Wright and an unnamed juvenile have both been arrested. The police say they believe they know what the motive for the killing was. A video was posted on Facebook of the victims flashing cash, and the bodies were found with their pockets emptied. New details coming out about a man who was arrested back in May, accused of having a bomb in his backpack. Joshua Redden reportedly admitted to having a bomb in his backpack. He claimed he needed it to defend himself against the street gang MS-13. Russell Stroud, Nooga Radio News, now.
In-depth traffic, news, and information. Mornings on Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Another round of scattered showers and storms are rolling from the west through your afternoon and evening. Highs mid and upper 80s tonight. Lingering showers and storms diminishing after midnight. Lows 70 to 73. For Friday, a morning shower possible, then drier with some afternoon sun. Highs upper 80s again for the weekend. Tired of the pressures and hassles of car shopping? Come see what more people are making the short drive to Jackson Chevrolet Buick GMC in Lafayette or online at jacksongm.com. That's Jackson Chevy Buick GMC in Lafayette. And I'm Source 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Ward on Nooga Radio AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Picture that curl of steam rising from your fresh-made pizza. And in a flash, let it take you aloft, teasing all your senses. I'm talking about Jet's Pizza. If you eat out at Jet's in Hickson or take home your steaming deep dish square pizza, you'll love Jet's. They use only the best ingredients in a family recipe. Also try the cheesy bread, wings, chicken, or bread with bacon, antipasta or Greek salad. Jet's